I'm Moulos from E-commerce Brokers, and in this video, I'm going to go through what a buy-side broker does for their clients during due diligence. Now, of course, at E-commerce Brokers, we help people sell businesses, but we also help people buy businesses with our buy-side services. Now, a big part of this process, of course, is the sourcing, the negotiating and closing, but in between those last two steps is the due diligence process. And buying a brick and mortar traditional business and buying an online business have their differences. And a big part of that is how we conduct due diligence. Now, the financials, as you can imagine, are very similar because accounting is accounting, right? But making sure that things are kosher in terms of the traffic and everything to do with marketing and et cetera, and to make sure things are right and there aren't any red flags, that's what a buy-side broker is great for. I like to cut the due diligence process into 4 separate parts: financial, operational, legal, and tax. Now, tax is the easiest one. They need to be up to date with their taxes so there aren't any liabilities on the business. And that also goes for any debts or liens or loans, for example. They need to be paid up. Ultimately, usually a buyer will actually buy the assets of the business, not the company. But again, you don't want that sort of trouble, and you also want to trust the seller. So make sure that everything is paid off and all the taxes are paid off too. Now, to legal. Now, of course, with legal, you're going to need a lawyer. A buy-side broker like ourselves and anyone else out there, we aren't lawyers, we aren't attorneys. But at the same time, there's a lot of things that we see that a lot of lawyers might not. And really, you don't want to be spending too much time bringing lawyers in because they're going to rack up massive thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of bills, especially for the bigger deals. As you can imagine, there's a big difference between a non-online business lawyer and a specific online business lawyer who's done a lot of these deals. For an online business focused lawyer, meaning they actually do a lot of deals and put together LOIs and sales agreements and promissory notes, they won't charge you too much, maybe $1,000 to $5,000, but one that hasn't done a lot of these deals, they'll charge you $10,000, $20,000 to basically create an agreement from scratch. The last 2 parts is the financial. Now, this is where you want to either get the seller to get a third party, CPA, to do an audit, or you do that yourselves. Now, it's typical for the seller to do that. It's kind of on them to bring to the table audited financials. But if you're a buyer and you agree with the seller that you're going to pay for it, okay, that's no problem. That being said, you need to get to that EBITDA number, the real net profit, right? And that's hard to get to sometimes because sellers will be like, this is the SDE, or this is the net profit, or this is the EBITDA, and that number will fluctuate. And until you get it from an audited accountant, a CPA, an audit from an accountant, you really don't know. So it's very important to get those legit numbers. This last step is where we as buy-side brokers really help out. It's the operations. We check SOPs, we check with employees, employee contracts, supplier contracts, we check that the traffic from their different sites is legit, we check customer reviews, we check the back end of the website on Shopify or Amazon. There's a lot of different steps, and as you can imagine, there's a lot of complexity in each of those steps. That's what a buy-side broker will do. And most importantly, if we see something wrong, that's when we come in and say, hey, we've seen a few red flags here, and there's enough red flags here for us to say, let's move on this business, like move away from this business, let's say. Whereas some businesses, they'll have some red flags or orange flags, let's call it, and it's not too bad, right? So some businesses, it kind of feels like, well, what's a business that has problems that I can deal with, right? So you might find that, recently we had a business that had very poor organic search, but their paid ads were fantastic. Now that's a weakness in the business, but that's also something that our buyer was looking for. They are great at SEO and generating organic traffic, so that's the type of business they wanted. So with that being said, that is the high-level process that we go through for our clients on the buy side during due diligence. Now, if you are looking for a buy-side broker to help you source, negotiate, complete due diligence, and close on an online business, follow the link below and book a call with me, and we'll go through your acquisition criteria and see if we can help out.